The pounding of my own heart, a frantic drum against the hollow silence of the pre-dawn world, is the only testament to the reality of what I'm about to share. Most who venture out under the dying stars, seeking solace or discipline in the rhythmic cadence of their steps, do so with a naive trust in the familiar. They believe the asphalt arteries and verdant veins of their usual routes are imbued with a kind of mundane sanctity, a shield against the true horrors that lurk beyond the veil of daylight. But the truth about running in the hushed hours, the truth that nobody dares to tell you, is that you are not merely exercising your body. You are opening a doorway. Each stride, each breath drawn into lungs that crave the chill, becomes a plea, an invitation whispered into the ears of things that have no form, no name, and no mercy. I used to believe the world was as solid and predictable as the pavement beneath my feet, until a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air seeped into my bones, a chilling reminder that some paths are best left untrodden, especially when the sun has long abandoned its post and the shadows begin to stretch like grasping claws. The moment everything changed was the night I heard a sound that wasn't the wind, wasn't an animal, and wasn't the distant hum of civilization. It was a sound that scraped against the very fabric of my soul, a guttural whisper that seemed to emanate from the very earth itself, a preamble to a terror so profound it left me questioning the nature of my own existence. This wasn't the stuff of campfire tales or urban legends whispered in hushed tones. This was a raw, visceral manifestation of primal fear, a phenomenon that clawed its way out of the liminal spaces, the forgotten corners of our reality where the mundane bleeds into the monstrous. To venture out at that hour is to embrace a precarious dance on the precipice of sanity, to invite an unseen audience to witness your vulnerability, to become a solitary beacon in a sea of encroaching darkness, drawing unwanted attention from entities that feast on isolation and despair. It's a mistake, a profound and terrifying miscalculation, to believe that the open road, bathed in moonlight or the pale glow of street lamps, offers any true protection when the world has retreated into its slumber and the true custodians of the night awaken. 90% of people who hear this story wish they never had, and for good reason. They find themselves scanning the periphery, their peripheral vision now a constant source of unease, a phantom limb of apprehension. They hear the rustle of leaves and imagine something far more sinister than a breeze. They see the flicker of headlights and conjure monstrous shapes in the periphery. The familiar routes become alien landscapes, tainted by the echoes of what might be, what was, or what is eternally waiting. The simple act of running, once a source of freedom and physical release, transforms into a gauntlet of escalating dread, each kilometer a step further into a psychological labyrinth from which escape seems increasingly improbable. This isn't a warning to stop running, it's a somber revelation about the hidden costs, the unseen tolls that the night collects from those who dare to challenge its dominion, a dark pact forged with every dawn run that binds you to a cycle of growing paranoia. I remember a runner, a man named Thomas, who frequented the park trails near my old neighborhood. He was a creature of habit, his mornings marked by the crunch of gravel underfoot, the steady rhythm of his breathing. He'd always smile, a quick nod of recognition as we passed, two solitary souls navigating the nascent light. He'd bragged about how running cleared his head, how the exertion banished the mundane worries of his day job. But one crisp autumn morning, Thomas never returned. His car was found still parked at the trailhead, his keys on the passenger seat, his phone still ringing with unanswered calls from his worried wife. The search parties combed the woods, their flashlights cutting futilely through the dense undergrowth, finding nothing. No sign of struggle, no torn clothing, no scattered belongings. It was as if the forest had simply swallowed him whole. The police chalked it up to an accident, a fall, a lost hiker. But those who knew Thomas, who saw the quiet determination in his eyes, knew it was something far more insidious, something that preyed on the lone, the predictable, the one who believed they were masters of their own path. The silence after Thomas's disappearance became a heavy shroud over the park. The usual chatter of early morning joggers dwindled. A palpable sense of unease settled, thick and suffocating, like cobwebs spun by unseen spiders in the dead of night. People started to avoid the trails, especially the more secluded paths that wound deeper into the trees, paths Thomas had favored for their solitude. The woods, once a place of tranquil escape, now seemed to hold their breath, watching, waiting. There were whispers, of course, hushed conversations in coffee shops, furtive glances exchanged at the grocery store. They spoke of strange lights seen in the woods that night, of an unnerving stillness that preceded a sudden, suffocating fog that had rolled in, a fog so thick it swallowed sound and sight. These were the kind of stories that usually fade, dismissed as folklore or mass hysteria, but the absence of Thomas, the utter lack of explanation, gave them a chilling weight, a terrifying plausibility. Then there was Clara, an art student who often ran along the riverfront. She was younger, more vibrant, her laughter echoing even in the early hours. She loved the open expanse, the way the water reflected the bruised hues of the pre-dawn sky. One evening, she posted on her social media about a strange encounter during her run. A fleeting image, a feeling of being watched by eyes in the darkness. She described it as a fleeting moment of terror, a cold dread that settled deep in her gut, making her sprint the rest of the way home. She dismissed it as exhaustion, an overactive imagination fueled by her late-night painting sessions. The next day, she never showed up for her morning class. Her roommate found her apartment undisturbed, her running gear laid out, ready. The riverfront path was searched, the water dredged, but like Thomas, Clara had vanished. Her last post, that cryptic mention of eyes in the darkness, became a haunting echo, a testament to the unseen presences that stalk the lonely stretches of our world. The chilling parallel between these disappearances is the profound lack of evidence. There are no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away, no torn fabric snagged on branches. It's as if the very air around them simply dissolved, absorbing them into its unseen depths. This is not the work of a conventional predator. This is something else, something that operates on a different plane of existence, something that can pluck individuals from reality as easily as a child plucks a dandelion from a field. It leaves no trace, no earthly detritus, only a void where a life once thrived, a silent testament to its unfathomable power. The shadows themselves seem to conspire, to cloak these entities in an impenetrable veil, leaving us to stare into the abyss and wonder what forces are truly at play when the world sleeps. This pervasive, unsettling silence is the most terrifying aspect of all. This isn't just about missing people. It's about a fundamental shift in perception, a dislodging of our perceived safety. When you run alone in the dark, you're not just battling your own fatigue. You're inadvertently becoming a subject of observation for entities that thrive in such vulnerability. Think of it as leaving your front door ajar, not realizing that the invited guest is something ancient and ravenous, something that views your solitude not as peace but as an invitation to consume. The rhythmic sound of your footsteps, the steady beat of your heart, the simple act of breathing, these become beacons, signals in the vast, indifferent night that attract attention from realms we cannot comprehend. This is the dark bargain of the solitary runner, the silent pact made with the encroaching shadows, and this is where the story takes a turn you won't forget. It's not just about random disappearances. It's about a subtle, pervasive influence that seeps into the very fabric of our routines, twisting the familiar into the terrifying. I've spoken to others, whispered confessions from those who have felt it, that same prickling sensation on their skin, the undeniable feeling of being watched when no one is there. They describe a growing paranoia, a sense that the familiar routes are no longer safe, that the shadows are not just shadows but watchful eyes, that the wind carries not just sound but insidious whispers. They talk about an urge to push further, to run faster, to escape something they can't quite see, an urge that paradoxically leads them deeper into the very danger they're trying to flee. This is the insidious nature of the entities that inhabit these liminal spaces. They don't just stalk, they influence, they guide you, slowly, subtly towards their waiting embrace. What nobody tells you openly is that these entities, these nameless horrors, feed on more than just fear. They feed on the disruption of routine, the shattering of normalcy, the profound existential dread that comes from realizing the world is not as safe or as ordered as you believed. Your running, your dedication to self-improvement, your very defiance of the darkness by moving through it, these actions, when performed under the cloak of night, become a concentrated offering. You are not merely a runner, You are a spectacle, a solitary performance for an unseen audience that applauds with the rustling of unseen leaves and the creak of unseen branches. Their hunger is not for flesh and blood, but for the shattering of sanity, the unraveling of the mind, the complete and utter surrender of the will. Consider the old folklore of the wild hunt, a spectral procession that swept across the land, often seen on moonless nights, abducting souls. While this is a myth, it taps into a primal human understanding that there are forces beyond our control that move in the darkness. The disappearances of Thomas and Clara, and countless others who have vanished without a trace, echo these ancient fears. They are modern manifestations of an age-old terror, a reminder that the boundaries between our world and others are more permeable than we like to admit, especially when we venture into the night, unprepared, unshielded, and utterly alone. The woods become a portal, the empty roads a stage for something ancient and hungry. The feeling of being watched is not just a psychological trick of the mind, it's a genuine response to an objective presence. It's the subconscious registering the alien gaze, the primal instinct screaming that you are not alone, that you have trespassed into a domain that is not your own. It's the cold breath on the back of your neck that vanishes when you turn, the peripheral flicker that dissipates when you focus. These are not figments of imagination. They are the subtle manifestations of entities that exist just beyond the edge of our perception. Entities that can only interact with our reality in fleeting, terrifying glimpses, or in their more potent moments through absolute erasure. The silence that follows their passage is the most deafening proof of their existence. Now, picture this in your mind. A runner, bathed in the pale, ghostly light of a street lamp, their breath misting in the frigid air. They are on a familiar path, a route they've run 1,000 times. But tonight, something is different. The shadows seem deeper, more substantial. The usual night sounds are absent, replaced by an unnerving quiet. Suddenly, they hear it, a faint, almost imperceptible rustling, not of leaves, but something within the shadows, something that moves with a disturbing, unnatural gait. Their heart pounds, a frantic, trapped bird against its cage. They try to dismiss it, to rationalize it as an animal, but the sensation of being intensely watched, of being singled out, is overwhelming. This is the moment the veil thins, the moment the familiar world peels back to reveal the abyss lurking beneath. What happened to Thomas and Clara is not an isolated incident. It's a pattern, a terrifying consistency that points to something deliberate, something with a purpose. These entities aren't merely opportunistic predators. They seem to be actively harvesting. They select individuals who embody a certain kind of vulnerability, those who seek solitude in the dark, those who push their limits, those who, in their pursuit of self-mastery, inadvertently open themselves to external forces. The cracked mirror of their lives, so to speak, reflects not just their own image, but the distorted visage of something else, something that sees an opportunity for a terrifying kind of communion, a forced assimilation into the unseen. The emotional appeal here is stark and undeniable. The profound terror of realizing your sanctuary has become your prison, your source of strength, your greatest weakness. Imagine the dread of knowing that the very act you use to feel alive, to feel in control, is precisely what makes you a target. It's a betrayal not by the world, but by the illusion of safety you've always taken for granted. This realization is a cold, sharp blade that cuts through the comforting lies we tell ourselves about the inherent order of the universe. It forces a confrontation with the terrifying possibility that we are merely prey, and the hunters are unseen, patient, and utterly alien. There's an old, almost forgotten tale from a remote village, a story whispered only by the oldest residents, of a time when the winter nights were unnaturally long, and the village was plagued by a sickness that stole not just breath, but memory. Children would wander into the woods, their eyes vacant, and never return. The elders claimed it was the work of the hollow men, beings made of shadow and silence, who would lure the unwary away with soft, seductive whispers that promised forgotten comforts. They said these hollow men didn't consume flesh, but essence, leaving behind only empty husks that eventually crumbled into dust. This tale, though ancient, resonates with the modern disappearances, suggesting that the fear of the unknown and the emptiness left behind are universal constants in the face of true cosmic horror. The chilling imagery of the hollow men, beings of shadow and silence, is a potent metaphor for what happens. They don't leave bloodstains or broken bones. They leave nothing, a complete erasure, a void where a person once stood. This is the ultimate act of cosmic indifference, the obliteration of individuality by forces that perceive us as less than insignificant. The rustling leaves become their whispers, the deep shadows their bodies, the unnerving quiet their very nature. When you run in the dark, you are, in essence, performing for them, your exertion and your solitude, a captivating show for beings who crave only the cessation of existence. And this is where the true, soul-chilling fear resides. The idea that these entities are not bound by our laws of physics or biology. They can manipulate perception, they can influence decision-making, and in their most terrifying moments, they can simply unmake you. The mundane world, with its predictable cause and effect, offers no protection against forces that operate outside of it. Your rational mind, your logical explanations, your very sense of self, these are fragile defenses against an invasion from a realm where such concepts hold no meaning. The darkness you run through is not empty. It is full of a presence that waits, watches, and eventually claims. Consider the experience of Sarah, a marathon runner who during a grueling late-night training session found herself inexplicably drawn off her planned route. The path ahead seemed to shimmer, a distorted mirage beckoning her deeper into the woods. She felt an overwhelming compulsion to follow, a sense that something important awaited her, something she needed to see. Her GPS was malfunctioning, her watch battery dead, her phone signal non-existent. Alone, disoriented, and utterly compelled, she walked deeper into the tangled undergrowth. Hours later, she was found miles from her intended path, huddled at the base of an ancient gnarled oak, covered in scratches, babbling incoherently about whispers in the bark and eyes in the roots. She had no memory of how she got there, only the lingering, profound terror of a presence that had guided her, not with force, but with an insidious, irresistible pull. The compulsion Sarah experienced is a key aspect of this phenomenon. It's not always about brute force or overt terror. These entities are far more sophisticated, more ancient. They understand the human psyche, the desire for discovery, the allure of the unknown. They can weave illusions, implant suggestions, and leverage our own curiosity against us. The shimmer ahead, the whispered promise of something more. It's a trap meticulously set, using the runner's own drive and ambition as the bait. The woods become a labyrinth, and they are the unseen architects, guiding you through its terrifying passages. The metaphor of the cracked mirror is particularly apt here. When we look into a mirror, we see ourselves, our reality. But a cracked mirror distorts. It fractures the image, revealing glimpses of something else, something warped and unsettling. These entities are the fractures in our reality, the cracks through which we glimpse the horrifying truth that our world is not as solid or as safe as we believe. The runner who ventures into the dark is, in a sense, looking into a cracked mirror, their familiar world fragmenting, revealing the monstrous reflections that lurk just beyond the surface. And this leads to a profound emotional awakening, or perhaps a descent into madness. The constant awareness, the perpetual unease, the gnawing suspicion that you are never truly alone. These take a heavy toll. The joy of running, the sense of accomplishment, it's all tainted. Every shadow becomes a potential threat, every rustle of leaves, a harbinger of doom. The mind, constantly on high alert, begins to fray. Sleep offers little respite, as dreams become haunted by the same lurking presences that stalk the waking hours. This isn't just fear. It's a persistent, soul-wearying dread that erodes the very foundations of one's being. It's the slow, inexorable decay of sanity. The stories of the cold ashes that remain after such encounters, or the feeling of a profound emptiness, speak to the complete effacement of the individual. It's not just death, it's oblivion. The entities that claim these souls don't leave behind a legacy, or a memory, or even a cautionary tale that can be fully understood. They leave behind an absence, a chilling void that hints at a power so immense, so alien, that it can simply erase existence. The ashes are cold because they are devoid of the spark of life, the residual heat of a soul that has been extinguished, not just extinguished, but unmade. This is why the whispers from beyond are so potent, so terrifying. They are not the voices of the departed, seeking comfort or closure. They are the echoes of those who have been consumed, their final moments of terror and confusion reverberating through the fabric of reality, a constant, maddening reminder of what awaits the unwary. These whispers are the residue of shattered lives, the spectral signatures of beings who have been pulled into the abyss, their very essence dispersed into the unseen. They are the ultimate warning, carried on the wind, woven into the fabric of the night. Now, consider the crow. This ancient symbol, often associated with ill omen and death, becomes a silent sentinel. You see them perched on branches, their obsidian eyes fixed, seemingly watching you as you pass. Are they merely birds, or are they observers, emissaries of the darkness? Their presence, especially in the quiet solitude of a pre-dawn run, amplifies the feeling of being scrutinized. They are the embodiment of the unseen eyes, the silent witnesses to your vulnerability. Their unnerving stillness, a reflection of the predatory patience of the entities that lurk just beyond the edge of sight. They are nature's subtle heralds of encroaching doom. And the creaking door. It's a sound that signifies entry, a passage. When you're running in the dark, the world feels sealed, contained. But the sounds of the night, a distant creak, a sudden groan, they can shatter that illusion. They suggest that boundaries are being crossed, that unseen passages are opening. This is the sound of the veil thinning, the sound of the other side beginning to bleed into our own. Each creak is a question mark, an unnerving intimation that something has shifted, something has entered the space you thought was your own. It's the sound of an unwelcome guest arriving. The narrative demands a deeper understanding of the psychological impact. This isn't merely about physical danger. It's about the erosion of the mind, the constant vigilance, the hyper-awareness, the inability to find true solace, even in sleep. It's a recipe for psychological breakdown. The runner who persists in these conditions is not just brave. They are dancing with a madness that threatens to consume them from within. The darkness outside mirrors the encroaching darkness within. A battle for the soul waged in the silent hours between midnight and dawn. The idea of broken crosses is not merely religious symbolism. It represents the fragmentation of belief, the shattering of faith in a benevolent order. When you encounter the inexplicable, the purely malevolent, your established paradigms crumble. The comforting structures of morality and meaning that you've built your life upon are revealed as fragile illusions. The runner who feels the cold touch of the unknown realizes that there are forces at play that recognize no moral boundaries, no divine protection. The broken cross is the stark symbol of a universe far more indifferent and terrifying than we are willing to admit. This is the essential dread, the realization that your perceived control is an illusion, that your efforts to strengthen yourself through physical exertion have made you more visible, not more protected. The dedication to fitness, the pursuit of self-improvement, these are noble goals, but in the context of the supernatural, they can become unintentional offerings. You are not merely running, you are performing, and the darkness is your audience, waiting for the moment of weakness, the lapse in concentration, the opportune instant to claim you. The narrative is designed to make the listener question their own routines, their own perceived safe spaces, their own understanding of reality. What if the very act of seeking to escape the mundane, through something as visceral as running, is what actually attracts the entities that represent the ultimate, unknowable other? It's a cruel paradox. The desire for freedom, for self-mastery, becomes the very thing that leads to an enslavement of a far more profound and terrifying nature. The open road, once a symbol of possibility, transforms into a path leading inexorably towards an abyss. The freedom found in motion becomes the ultimate surrender, and this pervasive dread is what I want you to carry with you. The feeling that as you read these words, as you listen to this narrative, a part of you is awakening to a truth you've long suppressed. The truth that the world is far stranger, far more terrifying, and far less controllable than we allow ourselves to believe. The shadows are not empty, the silence is not benign, and the paths we tread in our moments of solitary pursuit can lead us to places from which there is no return. This is the knowledge that lingers, that breeds restlessness, that plants the seeds of genuine, bone-deep chills. Do you feel this dark message was meant for you? It is a question born not of curiosity, but of a shared understanding of the unseen forces that surround us. The quiet dread that can settle upon the soul when the veil between worlds grows thin. The answer, whether you admit it or not, lies in the unsettling tremor that runs through you, the newfound awareness of the vast, unexplored darkness that lies just beyond the periphery of your perceived reality. Every soul that joins feeds the voice that whispers from the darkness. It is a call to those who are drawn to the abyss, who understand that true knowledge often lies hidden in the most terrifying of places. By embracing this community, you are not just subscribing. You are acknowledging the presence of the unseen. You are becoming part of a collective consciousness that seeks to understand the encroaching shadows, to decipher the whispers that echo from the void. Your presence strengthens the voice, amplifying its reach, and drawing others who also feel the irresistible pull of the unknown. Remember the stillness that precedes the storm, the absolute quiet that descends before something truly terrifying happens. That silence is not empty, it is pregnant with possibility, with a dread so profound it can steal your breath. It is the universe holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. That same pregnant silence now hangs in the air, a testament to the stories you've heard, the horrors you've begun to perceive. It is the sound of awareness dawning, the chilling prelude to a reality far more disturbing than you ever dared to imagine. A reality where every shadow holds a secret, and every path can lead to the edge of oblivion. The night is deep, and it is watching.